Hello guys and welcome to another video in the series of Linux tutorials. In this video we are going to talk about text processing using the awk command. So let's begin. First of all, awk is a scripting language which is designed for advanced text processing. Since it is a language in its own, it contains various features like if-else, variables, loops, etc. which can be used during the text processing. The awk command generally have two parts. The first one is the pattern part and the another is the action part. Both of these parts are written inside the single quotes. Okay, so for the action part we write inside the curly braces. For now, let's only write inside it print. Okay, and then we will give the name of the file. So I will give the name of the file as day file. Okay, so this will print the entire content of the file. For the pattern, I can write here two forward slashes and I can write here, let's say, manager. Okay, so awk command reads the content of a file line by line and it only prints those lines which have manager inside of it. Okay, and instead of writing here print, you can also write here print $0. $0 represent the entire line. Okay, so this will also give us the same result. Now before moving further, there are some concepts that we need to understand. First of all is the record separator. Okay, which is representing using the RS. Record is a more formal term than the line. For instance, this is our record number 1, then this is record 2 and this is record 3. Okay, and record separator means that how these records are separated. So by default these are separated with the /n character. Okay, /n character. After that we have the field separator, which is by default the any number of space, or we can take it as the tab character. Okay, anything will work. So now if we see in our records, this awk is our first field, then is our second field, then A is our third field, then scripting is fourth field and the language is fifth field, right? And in the second record, language is our first field, then in is our second field, it is a third field and on is a fourth field, and space is taken as a field separator, right? Space is our field separator. Now within the awk action part, if I am writing there $1, it means that I am talking about the field number 1. For instance, this awk is our first field, then language is our first field for this particular record and many is our first field. Similarly, if I am writing there $2, it means we are talking about the field number here. Okay, so if I want to print here field number 1 only, then I can write here $1. Okay, so it will print me the first field of those line which contains manager inside of it. So if I press enter, it is only printing the name here, right? If I want to print the third field also $3, then at the top you will see third field is the position field which will print account, clerk, sales like this, but only those lines which have manager inside of it. Okay, so if I press enter, it will print us the first field and also the third field. If I remove this pattern part here, so now you will see it is printing us the first field and the third field of each record of our file. Now we can also use here regular expressions. For instance, I can write here XOR P. Okay, so instead of $1 and $3, I will write here $0. $0 represent the entire record. Okay, so it will print us all those records that are starting with the character P. Okay, so these two lines or these two records are starting with the P. Similarly, we can give here another regex here. For instance, I can write here XOR PV. So this will give the lines that are starting with the P or V. Okay, now after that you can also give the conditions based on some particular field. For instance, let's say that I want to print out only those lines or those records which have clerk as in third field. Okay, so how can I do it? For that I can write here $2, which means I am talking about the field number 2 and that should contain the string as clerk. So this tilde is equal to the contains. So $2 should contains the clerk inside of it. So if I press enter, it will only print those lines which has clerk in their second field, right? Now in case if you want to print the lines that does not have the clerk as a second field, then you can use here not. okay, which means does not contain. So if I press enter, no second field contains the clerk inside of it. Now remember that if you don't want to print the entire line and only want to print a specific field, then you can give here, for example, $5, $6. Okay, so this particular expression will print $5, that is the fifth field, and sixth field of all those records whose second field does not contain the clerk. So if I press enter, it will only print fifth and sixth field. Notice that in the original file we don't have any sixth field in various location. Only the first line has the sixth location. Okay, so let me clear it now. Now you can also use the various comparison operators within the patterns. For instance, we can write here $5. That means I'm talking about the salary here. $5 should be greater than 1500. Okay, so $5, that means these fields should be greater than to the 1500. So if I press enter, it will only print the fifth field and sixth field. So let me put it to the $0 to print entire line. So it is printing whose salary is greater than 1500. Right now, one very important thing to notice that this particular line is also getting printed. Why it happens? $5 in this line is the salary, which is a string. Okay, and it is comparing with the numbers, that is 1500. Remember that string greater than the number will always evaluate to the true. Okay, so salary, which was actually the string, greater than the number is evaluating to the true. Okay, that is the reason this line is also getting printed. Now you can also use the other comparison operators here. For example, less than, greater than, equals to, less than, equals to, or double equals to, and also not equals to. For example, I can write here $5 is equal to 2000. Okay, 2000, right? So here if you see, $5 means this field, that is the salary field, should be equal to the 5000. So if I press enter, there are two such fields exist. Now we can also combine the various patterns. For instance, we can use here, for instance, this was giving us this particular line also. Okay, let's say we don't need it, so I can write here and, okay, which is the logical and I'll give here $5 does not contain the string salary. Okay, or we can also give the half match here, that is SAL. So $5 should not contain the SAL. Okay, and logical AND means that this should be true and also this should be true. So if I press enter, now if you notice, this first field is not getting printed. Why? Because this condition is true, but this particular condition is getting false for this particular record. Okay, instead of logical AND, you can also use here logical OR. It means that either this condition should be true or either this particular condition should be true. Okay, so I can give here $4, let's say, should be greater than 13000. If I press enter, all these records are satisfying either this condition or they are satisfying this particular condition. Okay, so let me clear it. Now within the pattern, we can also specify the range. Okay, for instance, we can write here awk, then I'll give here in the pattern field, that is the $4 equals to, that is, let's say I'm writing here 25,000. Okay, 25,000, and the AND range, so this is the starting range, and then we write the comma, and then we write the AND range. So you can put here any conditions here. There, so I'll write here, let's say $5 is equal to 500. Okay, and what I'm going to do, I'm simply going to print the entire line, right? And I'll give the file arguments as the file. Now while processing the record, it will check whether $4 is equal to 25,000 or not. So it will check for this record, it is not matched, then this, then this. Okay, so this particular line has fourth field equals to 25,000. So it will start printing the record from this line. Then it will see that $5 is equal 500 or not. So this particular line does not have $5 equal 500. This also does not have, but this particular record has it. So as soon as this particular condition is matched, it will stop. Okay, so if I press enter, so this is how range can be used, but mainly it is used when you want to pick up the certain line numbers. For example, if you have 10 line numbers and you want to process records from line number 7 to line number 8, in that case this range will be useful with the usage of NR variable. Okay, we will talk about the NR soon, but before that we will look at the special expression patterns which are begin and end. Okay, so when I will specify here begin and I'll give here any action. So let's say I'm writing here print records are processing. Okay, so this particular statement will only execute once before the actual text processing starts. Okay, so if I press enter, you will see it will be written records are processing and all the records are printed. Okay, so what I can do, I can also define here our pattern. So I'll write here manager, and if I press enter, you will see before text processing this particular statement has been printed. Okay, so begin statements are evaluated before actual text processing starts, and also remember that it will only happen once. So whatever action we are defining inside of begin, it will only happen once before actual text processing starts. Okay, similar to the begin, we also have end, which will execute once this text processing ends. Okay, so I can write here print the text processing ended. Okay, so if I press enter, you will see it is written here. So this particular action will be done after the text execution has been completed. Now there are a couple of important variables that can be used within the awk command, in which first of all is the NR. Okay, which tell us the total number of records that has been processed so far. For instance, we can write here awk, and then I'll inside the codes I'll simply write here print $NR. Okay, and I'll write here $0, right? And after that I will give the file name. So I'll write here the file. So it will print 1 2 3 4 like that. So in simple terms, it is writing the record number that is being processed. Okay, or in other terms we can say that total number of records that has been processed so far. Now just like NR, there is another variable, that is the NF, which will tell us the number of fields that record contains. For instance, if I press enter, you will see our first record contains the sixth number of field. So this is our first field, then second, third, fourth, fifth and sixth, right? But the second record have only 5 fields. So 1 2 3 4 5. Sometimes it is also used to print the last field of each record. For instance, if I write here $NF, so for the first record the NR value is 6 and $NF will print us the bonus, which is actually the last field of that record. Similarly, for the second record, the number of field is 5 and the last field is also the fifth one. So it will print the last field. Okay, so the meaning here is that $NF can be used to print the last field of the files. So if I press enter, you will see it is printing the last field again. Now you can also use the file name variable, which will print the name of the file that is being processed. So if I press enter, it will give the name of the file. Now there are 4 very important variables that should be used, which is the field separator, which is by default set to the space or any number of space or tab. Then we have the output field separator. Okay, so field separator is used to identify the field in the input file, and the output field separator tell us the what should be the field separator to be used in the output. For example, I can write here awk, then in the begin part I can change the output field separator to the, let's say, @ okay, and then I will simply write here print $2, $3, okay, and then I will give the name of the file. So give here space also. So by default the output field separator was set to the space, but now it is set to the @. So if I press enter, you will see in the output field instead of space it is giving us @, right? Similarly, if I want to change the record separator, So for example, in the output, if you see, the record separator is /n, that is the new line character. For that, I can change the variable, that is the ORS. Okay, so ORS is for output record separator and RS is for input record separator. So if I give here equals to, let's say, colon. Okay, so now if you will see the output, each record is being separated by the colon. Okay, instead of the /n that was being used previously. Now the records that are the lines are separated by the colon. Okay, now what about the input file separator? For example, currently if you view another file, that is the DA file 2, here the input file separators are colon, right? Now in case if you want to use colon file separator, then you have to give here option as fs equals to colon, okay, which is by default set to the space, and instead of the file I will give here the file 2. Sorry, always remember that we have to give this character inside the double quotes, not inside the single quotes, right? So I have to change it to the single quotes, right? So in this case, the colon is taking as an input field separator, right? And you can also change the output field separator here. So I'll give here semicolon, and then I'll write here OFS equals to let's say ##. Okay, so if I press enter, you will see output field separator is now ##. Okay, and we are only printing the second field and third field. Now within our action part, we can give additional strings also. For instance, I can give here, let's say, this is cool. Okay, so it will use the second field, then it will use the output field separator, that is ##, then it will write this is cool, then it will again use the output field separator, that is ##, and then it will print the third field. So if I press enter, you will see accordingly the output has been shown. Okay, so whenever I am using the comma, it is going to be replaced with the output field separator, right? But if I don't use here any comma, in that case no output field separator will be used. Okay, and the output will be shown without any spaces. Okay, so whenever I will use here the comma, then the output field separator will be used. Okay, and if I am not using any comma here, then even though I had defined here OFS with some value, that is not going to be used. Okay, so if there is no comma, then no OFS will be used. Now awk command can also process the text which is get from the output of another command. For instance, if I simply use the command here cat the file, which is giving this output, then this output can act as an input for the awk command also. Okay, so I can write here cat the file, then use the pipe character, give here awk, and I'll simply write here print $2. Okay, for example, right? So in that case, the output of the one command will act as an input for the awk command. So if I press enter, you will see accordingly the output has been shown. Now many times the need for the text processing that is required is complex. In that case, we can also divide the awk command into multiple expressions. For instance, for our file da file, let's say that I want to process only these lines, which is the line number 4 to line number 8, and print only those lines whose third field is sales. Okay, so how can I do it? So for that, first of all, I can write here awk, then give here nr equal to 4, right, comma nr equals to 8, and I'll simply write here print $0. So it will start from the record number, that is the 4 to the 8, and it will print the line. So if I press enter, sorry, I have to give here the file name also, the file. So it will print the line number 4 to the line number 8. And now let's say that within this output, I want that the third field should be equal to the sales. So I can write here awk, then simply I can write $3 should contains sales. Okay, and if I press enter, you will see all these 4 lines have sales inside of it in the third field. Now awk being the scripting language, there are various programming features that can be used. For example, first of all, let's view our file, that is the da file, and then I can write here awk, and in the action part I can write if, that is $4, let's say greater than to 47,000, then print let's say $0, okay, entire line, right? And I'll give the file name as the file. Okay, so whenever the $4, that is the fourth field, is greater than to the 47,000, the entire line will be printed. This is true. Again, this is also true. Greater than 47,000, it is also true, and it is also true. You can also give here the else part. For that, I have to use here semicolon, and then I'll write here else print high. Okay, so all those lines whose fourth field is not greater than 47,000, high will be written. Okay, now one thing to remember, that whenever we use the programming feature, it becomes very difficult to write the logic here. Okay, most of the time we end up getting the errors. Okay, so to overcome it, we can use another file to write our logics. For example, there is one file that I created here, that is the name with the name script. And if you see, the simple logic here is that if $nf have the value greater than 500, then it will print the value, otherwise it will print the simple text, that is the high. Okay, so if you want to run this script against a file, you can write there awk-f, which is for the file argument, and I can give the file argument as script to our file, that is the file. Okay, and accordingly the output will be shown, right? Similarly, we have another script here, that is the script 2, which says that at the beginning we have to write awk is big, and then in the action part I had defined a variable here, that is the myWhere. Then it is checking for the condition, that means the last field should be greater than to the 500, and the fifth field should not be equals to the salary. Okay, and if it is true, then it will print the field value plus the myWhere value, that is the 99. Okay, otherwise it will print line number and then the current line, current record, not followed condition. Okay, and at the end it will write good lord. Okay, so to use it, I can write awk-f, give here the script 2, and then name of the file, that is the file. Okay, so it is written that awk is big, then the line 1 is not following the condition. So if I open the file, the file, okay, so if you see, our condition was $nf, that is the last field should be greater than to the 500. Okay, the last field bonus is greater than to the 500 because string is comparing with the numbers. But if you see, the fifth field also should not be equals to the salary. Okay, but here the fifth field is equal to the salaries. So that is the reason this condition get failed, and it is written here line 1 not followed the condition according to this statement, else statement, and at the end it is written good lot. So after processing of the text, it is written here good lot. Okay, so similar to this if else, there are tons of other programming features that can be used. To view all of those, you can view the manual page of awk command, and I'll open it with the nano. And if you go above, you will see that you can create the functions also, or loops also, for loop also. For example, here it is written how we can define our user defined function. Okay, similarly there are tons of built-in functions that can be used. For example, we can use here to lower or to upper, which will make the string in upper case. Okay, so there are various mathematical or string functions that can be used, right? And there are control statements also. For example, if, while loop, do, for loop, break, continue, these can also be used. Okay, so there are tons of operators also that can be used, like plus plus, minus minus, or arithmetic operators, like that. Okay, so there are a lot of things that can be used within the awk command. Now one example of built-in function you can use in a way, for example, I can write here awk print, and I'll give here to upper, and I'll write here $2, okay, and give the file name as the file. Sorry, I have to use here curly braces also, right? So it will make the entire string in the upper case. Similarly, you can use here length also. So I can write here length and I'll give here as dollar, let's say 3. Okay, so it will tell me the length of the third field of each record. Okay, so if I do here cat of the file, you will see the length of the position is 8, so it is written here 8. Similarly, the third field, that is the account, length is 7, so 7, right? Similarly, here also the third field is account, so 7 is written. Then for the sales it is 5, so here it is written 5. Okay, so the second field is written in the uppercase, and for the third field we are printing the length of that strings. Okay, so just like that, there are other functions also. You can check out the manual page for a complete reference, right? So that's all for today, guys. I hope you like the video. If you have any doubt, please comment it down. Thanks for watching, and I have to see you in the next video.